So you want to start vending a collecticon in 2025? Here are the top 5 tips I have for you. All right, Happy New Year, everyone, and we're here in 2025, and now you want to start vending a collecticon. You haven't done a collecticon, you haven't vended, you don't know, how to really get around it, and even if you have done a collecticon, maybe there's a few tips in here for you. So stay tuned, especially on tip 4 and 5. Those are going to be the big ones. Maybe you haven't thought of those yet, but let's jump right into the video. Let's go. All right, tip 1, inventory. So this is almost self-explanatory, but how much inventory do you have? Typically, a collecticon, you want to have at least, in my opinion, $10,000 of inventory or more for the show for the weekend. Now, why do I say $10,000? It's a very easy number to really calculate for $10,000 percent-wise. Let's say that your margin is about 20%, maybe even 15% if you're on the lower end. $1,500 right there to $2,000, easy math. That's going to be your profit for the weekend if you were to sell all $10,000 that you had. Now, what are you bringing? Are you bringing sealed? Are you bringing singles? Are you bringing slabs? How many tables do you need? Who are you vending with? Maybe you're vending with random people. Maybe you're vending with a group of friends. All the space is going to have to be utilized very, very carefully. Now, what do I mean by the space? So they have 6-foot tables in Collecticon. Each table only has a little bit of back room, meaning you can't really bring too big of shelves. You really can't bring backup tables. Everything is pretty crammed. You'll have a little bit of room, a little bit of leeway, especially if you're with friends or you're with people that you know. So that's going to play a factor on how much stuff that you're going to be able to put behind your table and how much stuff you're going to be able to store away. If you're just doing slabs and singles, you got 6 feet of table to work with. Typically, that's 3 Zion cases laid out vertically, or you can do 2 Zions and maybe a couple of binders, etc. You can play a little bit of Tetris with it, get it fixed to how your inventory is set out. I would not suggest that you do a collecticon if you have less than $10,000 worth of inventory, vending wise. Unless the collecticon is like 5 minutes from you and you really want to test it out and see how it is, I suggest at that point that you just walk the collecticon. Get a feel for it, get a feel for both days before you start diving in head first, because it could potentially you could lose money. This brings us to point 2, margins. How are you getting your margins? Are you buying sealed product from a distro, or do you have a distro? Are you buying it from retail? Are you getting singles? Are you buying singles from people and then grading them? Where are your margins and how much margins are you making? The big problem with margins is that it's very hard for people to understand where their margins are. How much time and money is going into what you have. Let's say you have a sealed product that you've bought for $50, but it's sat for 2 years and now it's only up to $100. In 2 years, it's gained 100%. So it went from 50 to 100, and now that you're ready to sell at a market price of 100, maybe you'll take 90, maybe you'll take 85, depending on the product. But where is your margin, and how much time have you invested into the product, into the slab? Did PSA take 3 months on it? Did they take 6 months on it? Did they take 1 month on it? How fast are you churning over that money to make the margin? Because unless you sell, you're not making the margin. No matter what, you could have a card that you've bought for 200, it shot up to 800. If you don't sell, you don't have your margin. There's no margin there because you haven't realized the gain. When you don't realize the gain, you just have inventory. You just have standing money. So personally, myself, I grade a lot. I also buy slabs that I think and have an idea that will go up or are very liquid. Those are 2 big things there. I do work a little bit with singles, raw singles, but I primarily have found a lot of success with PSA and with graded cards. My margins are typically 15 to 20%, and it all depends on if I'm grading it myself. If I'm grading it myself, usually the margin is a lot bigger, but you do have the risk of getting an 8, getting a 9, and then what is a 10 onto the raw price that you purchased the card for, plus grading fee, plus time. Make sure you calculate time. if you spend $10,000 and you have $10,000 worth of cards and you grade them all and you have no inventory, but everything is sitting 3 months at PSA, that time is very, 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 very underutilized. You do not want to put all your eggs in a basket if we're going to go from, you know, your entire net worth into one sub or one category of sealed product. You need to spread out a little bit so that you have trickling money, you have profit, you have net gain. That's going to bring us to tip 3. Location, location, location. You hear this in real estate. You hear this everywhere about where things are is going to be the money. Is the Collecticon local? Are you going to have to fly? Do you need to get a hotel? Do you need to get Uber? Do you need to everything? Calculate it in. You're going to have to pay probably a little bit pricier of a cost for a hotel because a lot of these Collecticons are in downtowns. Downtowns are typically, you know, 100 to 150 a night. Some of the recommended hotels of these Collecticons can get crazy, 250 to 300 a night. You're staying typically 2 to 3 nights if you come in on Friday. You're leaving Sunday night, maybe you're leaving Monday morning. You want to calculate everything, the flight, the hotel, and then see what you can do about the table cost. The table cost right now in 2025 has gone up just a slight bit. If you get a section, you can split it between 10 people. Your table will cost $295. It's $2,950 for a section right now of 10 tables. If you're gonna go solo, you don't have people that you're comfortable with, and you're just gonna try and grab tables because you just want to go. And you get 2 tables. I think they're like $750, and so it does raise the price to $375 a table. I'll have the numbers on the screen. I forgot exactly how much it costs for 3 tables, 2 tables, 5 tables, etc. But the cost does get a little bit lower as you grab more tables. So that also brings us to another point, rentals. Case rentals are $40 each from Zion. So if you have 1 table and you get 3 cases, that's another $120 that you got to add on. If you have 2 tables and you get 5 cases, it's another $200 you got to add on, etc., etc. If you have a lot of sealed stuff, you need to rent some sort of sealed display for behind you, or you need to rent or buy some sort of shelving. That's also going to be played into independently on how you guys are setting it up. So location and cost go hand in hand of what it's going to be. Usually it's going to be about $1,000, maybe a little bit more, especially with food. That's going to be independently up to you. If you want to splurge on a new city, you want to try different foods, or if you want to just go budget, grab a couple quick bites to eat, make maximum profit. Everything is up to you. But you got to know that it's probably going to be at least $1,000 if you're going to grab 1 table with hotel, with flight, with table rental, with case rental. We are on tip number 4. Plan ahead. Planning ahead is super crucial. Super crucial. The efficiency of how much you can plan ahead is going to directly correlate into how much profit you're going to make. It really, really, really helps to plan ahead because 1, the Collecticons tables, they go on sale 2 to 3 months ahead, and the pre-sales have been selling out 2 minutes and under right now. So you really have to be on time when the tables drop, and you also have to be prepping your inventory, prepping anything that you need for these shows. Typically, you're going to need at least 3 months, maybe a little bit more per show that you're going to need to plan out. If you're only doing 2 weeks, a week ahead, and you're just YOLOing, trying to get in, trying to grab a last minute table, more than likely your inventory is not going to be set. More than likely your inventory is not going to be ready, not going to be peak for what the show is going to be just because you have FOMO. I do not suggest doing that. Just skip the city, go to the next city, go to the following city after that, because these shows are so crucial on what profit you can make per show. If you have one really fun show, but you don't have the profit to back it up, you're not going to be able to carry that over into another Collecticon. You might be only sitting there for 1 or 2 for the year and you're in the negatives, but you had fun. So it's a trade-off of what people want to do versus profit. The PSA also, bulk is there. That's typically 2 to 3 months. The inventory is definitely going to matter on that. The inventory is definitely going to matter even on singles, because if you can time and plan ahead on singles, you should know typically what sets are good and what cards will probably go up, go down, buy at the low, don't buy at the high, etc., etc. That kind of goes hand in hand of what's going on. And as an example of a plan ahead, Prismatic Evolutions, our newest set that's coming out that is going crazy. It is 2 weeks after Prismatic Evolutions until Collecticon Atlanta. You can bet that everyone there is going to want a piece of that set. I want a piece of those singles. I want a piece of that Sunbryon, if we're coining it the Sunbryon. But maybe we won't have graded evolutions yet by the time Atlanta hits, but you can for sure bet that the next show, what is it, LA, that there's going to be tons there. And they're going to be peak prices because this set is insane. So people have been planning ahead, saving their money, liquidating whatever that they already have profit in. And basically they're cashing out for Prismatic Evolutions, and then they're going to reset their cycle. So plan ahead is a huge one. Now, if you've made it this far, I appreciate you guys for staying on this video. I appreciate everyone here. And hopefully a few of the intermediates to expert level, we'll quote it at that, Collecticon vendors are still here and waiting for number 5. Number 5 is a huge tip that I have for you guys. And it's something that I didn't understand the first few years of vending / selling, buying, trading, whatever you want to call it on this Pokemon endeavor. And it is called liquidity. Number 5. Liquidity is super underrated. People underestimate liquidity so much. They don't understand the actual term of liquidity. All they think about when liquidity is brought up is that liquidity is just, oh, it's money in the market. It's if I sell this now, then I can get money for it. What they don't understand is that with liquidity is time. That's another factor that I'm bringing to you again, is time. Make your money work for you. If you have slabs, if you have singles, there are margins there. Until you realize those margins, and when I say realize the margins, it means sell the card, sell the slab, sell whatever you have, and have the profit, then you don't have the liquidity yet. The liquidity is going to be the cash in your pocket, and it also is going to be coined when how sellable, how quickly can you get rid of your item. Both of those, to me, mean liquidity. If you have a slab that costs $1,000, and in 3 months you gain 10% profit over time because the card has gone up, in 3 months, $1,000 that has worked for you because you've spent $1,000 to get that card typically, let's just put it at that, you've made $100 if you were to sell that card at the end of 3 months and you got your 10% profit. If you sell the card now and not wait 3 months for that 10% gain, and you sell it at 85, 90%, so that's $850, $900 in that range. It's a great card, right? $1,000 card, a great card. It could be whatever you want it to be. Let's say you can make 15% profit, 20% profit. You graded it yourself, etc., etc. So you take that 20% profit. Let's just keep it at that as an easy number in math. You made $170 on that card. It was $1,000 market. You took 85% and you made your 20. $170 in profit. How many times can you make that $170 work for you? What can you put it in? Can you buy singles? Can you grade singles? If you bought a $150 single, graded it for $15 in 3 months time, if it tens, does that double your money? Does that 170 turn into 350, 340, 320, whatever it may be? If you can do that and do that multiple times, that is where your liquidity is going to rely. You don't need the 3 months to make that 10% gain on $100 on $1,000 card. It's It's an advanced tactic. I want to say it's an advanced tactic because some people don't understand that you having 10, 15 Charizards or Bubble Mews or whatever it is amazing. Moonbreons, yes, 100% amazing. You've held on to it. The card has gone up, but there's got to be a point where you need to realize the gains so that you can go on to a different play. There are always plays out there that are going to be there. You just have to open your mind to the play. If you're going to be stuck on that play then you need to invest. You don't need to do a collecticon. You're not there to sell the card. You want to get 110%, 120% of your card, then why are you at a collecticon with those items? You don't want to sell it. It's just, you're going to end up negative on that collecticon because you decided to just want to go to either flex your cards or really just sell the cards that you didn't want and just have those sitting on the side. That is something that you are not calculating into your inventory because it's something that you weren't going to give up anyway. So liquidity. It is huge, huge, huge. It also plays into the inventory factor of, you're not going to, 9 times out of 10, because I don't want to speak in 100%, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to sell your entire inventory at a collecticon. You might get through 30, you might get through 50, you might get through, a little bit above 50% if you're really pushing sales, but you should never expect to sell out at a collecticon. You're going to want some inventory. You're going to not want to sell everything on day one. You're not going to want, the guy that comes up to you at 60% on day one for your entire table. Those are things that are not fun and most likely not going to net you the most profit. So you got to plan on only selling, like I said, 30 to 50% of your inventory. That's typically what I see. It's going to be skewed if people are bringing, 10 holy grails or 10 base set boxes, but this isn't a video for them. They already know their niche. They already know what style of collecticon vending that they want to do. This is more typical to the standard collector that is churned investor for 2025, or maybe you're intermediate and you're at a point to where now you want to really start ramping it up. You're in 5 digits, maybe close to 6 digits worth of product, worth of Pokemon, One Piece, whatever TCG that you collect. This is really geared towards you. If you have $20,000 of inventory and you sell 50%, okay, and that's a pretty good amount. That's $10,000 worth of sales. Now, your margin there, maybe let's say a better margin. You're usually 10 to 20%, maybe 30 if you're really working it well. So let's do it in the middle, 20%. You made $2,000 profit by having $20,000 of inventory. So that $2,000 profit, how much money did it cost you to get to Collecticon, to rent everything, the hotels, everything else? It's probably going to be a little bit more than $1,000. You are netting less than $1,000 off of $20,000 of inventory that you brought and selling half of it. If that is something that you think that you can't do, or the inventory that you don't have, it gets substantially lower as you go down, because the less variety of product that you have, the less liquidity of product that you have, and value of dollar amount value that you have, you're going to sell less and less and less and less stuff. So maybe you only sell 30% and you had $15,000 worth of inventory. That's only $4,500 worth of sales. Sure, that's a great weekend. I did 4,500, I did 5,000, but you gotta calculate the margins, and then you have to calculate the liquidity. Did you give up all your best stuff and now you're just stuck with a bunch of bulk and stuff under $100? Did you sell the bulk and the stuff under the $100 and now you have just your best stuff? Vice versa. A lot of that is going to play into plan ahead, because guess what? If you're a person that's doing every Collecticon, there's one like almost every 3 weeks. It's very, very hard for the intermediate to beginner Collecticon vendor to do. You need time to set up. You don't have unlimited capital. So that's going to also bring you back into, okay, maybe I have to wait 3 months, 4 months until I do another Collecticon, and then again. So maybe you're only hitting 2 or 3 a year, you know. Last year I did 6, so I had a really good idea of how collecticons went. I even did one back to back just to see how inventory would work and how planning ahead would help, but it was still really tough because it was Jersey and Charlotte, and I sold a lot of stuff in Jersey and I was very light for Charlotte. Even with that capital that you get right off the bat from a collecticon, you can't expect people to just feed you, you know, great sales within that 2-3 week window enough that it's going to supply you for another collecticon. I hope everyone enjoyed this type of video, this type of format. I'm throwing up a whole bunch of like little mini videos with some data points here. I know Collecticon is going to be a huge talking point in 2025, and I wanted to get this out before the first Collecticon in case anyone has had ideas or about wanting to set up and vend. Some of this recording, Atlanta has already sold out. LA has already sold out. So the next one is going to be, I believe, Miami and then Chicago. And Chicago is already in April and Miami is in March. So if you calculate that, that's already going to be a quarter of the year gone by the time there's another month and all of these are already pre-sold that you would have to plan a collecticon. So it really is a big thing to plan ahead. And if you guys have any questions, please leave it in the comments. I would love to hear anything that you have questions about. I'm not an expert by any means. I want to put a disclaimer out there. I'm just one of those average people that have just gotten lucky and started a YouTube and really pushed this to the limit in 2024, and we want to do more in 2025. And also, you know, if you haven't checked out the Whatnot, come by, check out the Whatnot. We do packs all the time. We have fun, we kick it and talk. You know, we're not a super like die hard you know, base set boxes and stuff like that, but we'll do like fun stuff, you know. So I appreciate everyone, and I'm glad to be back on YouTube. Peace.